Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today we are diving into one of the most shocking and unbelievable stories in modern coin collecting, a tiny copper coin that most people would ignore, toss into a jar, or spend without a second thought. Yet under the right circumstances, this ordinary-looking 1982 D Mint Mark 1 cent coin could be worth up to $35 million because of rare errors, shocking mint mistakes, and unique transitional features that transformed pocket change into a life-changing treasure. And if you have ever wondered whether a single penny in your drawer could secretly be a fortune waiting to be discovered, then stay with me, because what you are about to hear might completely change the way you look at your spare change forever. Now, to understand why the 1982 D penny is so important, we first need to travel back to one of the most chaotic and confusing years in United States mint history. The year 1982 was a turning point for the Lincoln cent because that was the year the mint decided to change the metal composition of the penny due to rising copper prices. Before 1982, pennies were made primarily of 95% copper and 5% zinc, but because copper became too expensive, the mint transitioned to a new composition of 97.5% zinc with a thin copper plating. And this change alone created massive confusion because during 1982 both copper and zinc pennies were struck, meaning two different metal types exist for the same date. But that was not the only change happening. In that same year, the mint also changed the size of the date on the coin, creating what collectors now call the large date and small date varieties. And to make things even more complicated, these coins were struck at multiple mint facilities, including Philadelphia with no mint mark and Denver with a D mint mark. So when you combine two metal compositions, two date sizes, and multiple mint locations, you suddenly have a complex matrix of varieties that created one of the most studied and error-prone pennies in American numismatic history. Now here is where the real excitement begins, because among all these varieties, the 1982 D small date copper penny is considered the holy grail of modern Lincoln cents. According to official mint records, the Denver Mint was only supposed to produce zinc small date pennies in 1982. Meaning a copper small date version with a D mint mark should not exist at all, and yet at least one verified specimen has been discovered, sparking a frenzy among collectors and raising the possibility that a rare transitional error occurred when leftover copper planchets from early 1982 were accidentally fed into the presses after the small date dies were installed, creating a coin that technically should never have been made. And whenever a coin exists that should not exist, its value skyrockets because rarity and mystery are the two most powerful forces in the coin collecting world. Experts believe that if more authenticated examples of the 1982 D small date copper penny are discovered in pristine condition, their value could reach into the tens of millions, especially if bidding wars erupt between wealthy collectors who want to own one of the most famous transitional errors in modern U.S. history. But composition is only one part of the story, because mint errors themselves can multiply value dramatically. For example, off-center strikes where the design is not properly aligned can make a coin unique, especially if the date and mint mark remain visible. Double die errors where the design appears duplicated due to misalignment during die creation can create dramatic visual doubling, particularly in the lettering and date. And repunched mint marks where the D appears slightly doubled because it was punched more than once into the die can add significant desirability. And while repunched mint marks were more common in earlier decades, by 1982 the mint was transitioning toward machine-punched mint marks, making any dramatic anomalies especially collectible. Another major error possibility is a wrong planchet strike, which happens when a coin is struck on a blank intended for a different denomination or even a foreign coin. Imagine a 1982 D cent struck on a dime planchet or struck on leftover bronze stock during the zinc transition. Such a coin would not only be rare but historically significant because it represents a mistake during a major material shift in U.S. coinage. Collectors also examine weight very carefully because copper cents weigh about 3.11 grams while zinc cents weigh about 2.5 grams. And discovering a small date 1982 D cent weighing 3.11 grams immediately raises red flags and sparks excitement because that weight strongly suggests copper composition. And when such a coin is authenticated by professional grading services using precise scales and metal analysis equipment, its value can soar into extraordinary territory. Condition also plays a powerful role because coins graded Mint state 65, 66, or even higher can command exponentially more money than circulated examples, and when you combine ultra rarity with flawless surfaces free from scratches, spots, and where you create a perfect storm for record-breaking auction prices. But beyond the well-known transitional copper small date variety, there are additional errors that could elevate value, including broad strikes where the coin expands beyond its collar due to striking without proper containment, clipped planchets, where part of the coin is missing due to improper blank cutting, lamination errors where the metal peels or splits because of impurities in the alloy, die cracks that create raised lines across the surface, die breaks that form dramatic raised blobs known as cuds, and even dramatic misaligned dies that produce shifted designs. Each of these errors on a normal coin might add modest premiums, but when they occur on a historically significant year like 1982 with its multiple varieties, they can create extraordinary collector demand. Another fascinating possibility involves mule errors, which occur when dies intended for different coins are accidentally paired together. While no confirmed 1982 descent mule has reached mainstream headlines, the mere possibility fuels speculation because modern mules have sold for hundreds of thousands and sometimes millions of dollars. And speculation drives interest, which drives value, and in the coin market, perception can be just as powerful as confirmed rarity. Now let us talk about why a figure like $35 million becomes attached to a coin like this, because value in the coin world is not fixed, it is determined by auction dynamics, collector psychology, media hype, and historical importance. When a coin captures public imagination and is labeled as unique, or nearly unique, wealthy investors enter the market, not just collectors but investors who see rare coins as alternative assets similar to fine art, and when two billionaires decide they both want the same coin, the final hammer price can reach unimaginable heights. We have seen this with other coins such as the 1933 double eagle and rare silver dollars that shattered previous records. So if a truly unique 1982 small date copper penny in perfect condition were to surface and be heavily publicized, it is not impossible that bidding could escalate into the tens of millions, especially if it becomes recognized as the only confirmed specimen, or one of just a handful known to exist. Another layer of intrigue comes from the fact that millions of 1982 pennies are still in circulation, meaning the treasure hunt is still alive. Unlike ancient coins locked away in museums, these pennies can still be found in jars, bank rolls, and inherited collections, and that accessibility keeps collectors searching, which keeps excitement alive. Because the dream that anyone could discover one fuels the market and makes the story go viral again and again. And every time a news headline claims that a penny sold for a staggering amount, more people begin checking their change, increasing the chance that new varieties will be discovered. The coin collecting community also debates authentication challenges because altered coins exist where dishonest individuals attempt to modify large date coins to appear as small date varieties or plate zinc coins with copper to fake composition. Which is why professional grading by respected services using advanced testing methods like XRF metal analysis is essential to confirm authenticity, and a coin that passes such scrutiny gains enormous credibility and therefore enormous market value. Another factor contributing to high potential value is historical timing, because 1982 marks the final year of the traditional bronze cent before the full transition to zinc, making it symbolically the end of an era. Collectors love coins that represent turning points in history because they tell a story about economic pressures, metal markets, and government decisions, and when that story intersects with mint errors and rarity, the narrative becomes irresistible. Imagine holding a coin that represents the last gasp of copper coinage combined with a production mistake that defied official records. That combination of symbolism and error is powerful, and power translates into price when the right buyers compete. Condition census reports also influence value because if only one or two examples are graded at the highest level, the competition for top registry sets becomes intense. Collectors building the finest possible Lincoln cent set will pay enormous premiums to secure the best-known specimen. Registry competition has driven modern coin prices into the millions before, and it could do so again. The possibility of undiscovered examples also creates a fascinating tension, because if more are found, the value might adjust, yet if only one remains confirmed, the mystique grows stronger. And mystique is everything in high-end numismatics, Media coverage amplifies this mystique by framing the coin as a hidden treasure worth millions, sparking viral conversations and encouraging people to revisit their old piggy banks. And as long as that narrative continues, the legend of the 1982 D-era penny will only grow. Ultimately, what makes this coin potentially worth $35 million is not just metal or mint mark, but the perfect storm of transitional composition, small date rarity, Denver mint origin, documented mint confusion, era possibilities, condition scarcity, investor interest, auction dynamics, historical symbolism, and the human fascination with finding treasure in the most ordinary places. It is the idea that something so small and overlooked could hold unimaginable value, and that idea captures imaginations across America and beyond. So the next time you see a 1982 penny with a D mint mark, do not dismiss it. Check the date style carefully, compare the shape of the two in 1982, examine the weight with a precise scale, look for signs of copper composition and potential doubling or striking errors. Because while most will be common zinc cents worth a single penny, there remains that electrifying possibility, however small, that one extraordinary coin could change everything, and that possibility is what keeps collectors searching, dreaming, and believing that hidden among billions of ordinary coins might be a once-in-a-lifetime discovery waiting to be recognized. Next, 1963 1-cent USA coin. Today we are uncovering another unbelievable story from the world of rare coins, a tiny piece of copper that most people would never think twice about. Yet under the right circumstances, the 1963 1-cent USA coin has been rumored and speculated to reach jaw-dropping values as high as $44 million because of extraordinary mint errors, ultra-rare varieties, pristine condition examples, and mysterious production anomalies that continue to fascinate collectors around the world. And if you have ever wondered whether an ordinary-looking penny from the early 1960s could secretly be worth more than a mansion, more than a luxury yacht, or even more than a private jet, then stay with me, because this story proves once again that small change can sometimes hold life-changing secrets. Now, at first glance, the 1963 Lincoln cent seems completely ordinary. It features the familiar portrait of President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, designed by Victor David Brenner, and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, struck primarily in a composition of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, weighing approximately 3.11 grams, and produced in massive quantities at the Philadelphia and Denver mints, with Philadelphia coins bearing no mint mark and Denver coins marked with a small d beneath the date. But what makes 1963 so intriguing is not the basic design but the unique historical moment in which it was struck. 1963 was a year of enormous national tension and transformation in the United States, a year marked by economic growth, Cold War anxiety, and most notably the tragic assassination of President John F. Kennedy later that November, and coins minted in 1963 represent the final full year before the nation entered a new era, giving them symbolic historical weight that collectors find deeply meaningful. But symbolism alone does not create multi-million-dollar value. The true magic lies in rare mint errors, die varieties, transitional possibilities, and condition rarity that elevates certain specimens far above the billions of ordinary cents produced that year. One of the most powerful factors that can drive a 1963 penny into extraordinary value territory is the presence of a dramatic double die error. Double dies occur when the coin die itself receives multiple misaligned impressions during the hubbing process, causing noticeable doubling in the design elements, especially in the date, lettering, and motto "I in God We Trust." And while minor doubling can be relatively common, a strong, clear, and bold double die that is easily visible to the naked eye becomes an entirely different category of rarity, especially if very few examples were released into circulation before the mint corrected the die. Imagine discovering a 1963 penny where the date shows crisp separation in the numbers. The word Liberty appears distinctly doubled, and the inscriptions display unmistakable offset impressions. Such a coin, authenticated and graded at a high mint state level, could command staggering prices because collectors aggressively compete for dramatic visual errors that define a year's most famous variety. Another major possibility lies in off-metal errors, where a coin is struck on a planchet intended for another denomination or even another country. During the early 1960s, the mint was producing coins at a rapid pace. And occasionally planchets from different production lines could become mixed, resulting in a Lincoln cent struck on a dime planchet, quarter planchet, or even a foreign blank. Such errors are extremely rare and often one of a kind, and when combined with the historical significance of 1963 and pristine condition preservation, they can generate intense bidding wars among elite collectors, because owning a unique wrong planchet strike is like owning a mistake frozen in time. A tangible reminder that even in highly controlled government facilities, human error can create accidental masterpieces. And if such a coin were the only confirmed example known to exist from 1963 in top condition, its value could skyrocket toward the tens of millions depending on market demand and media exposure. Condition rarity is another enormous driver of price, because while millions of 1963 pennies were saved in rolls and collections, very few survive in flawless gem condition free of carbon spots, contact marks, or discoloration. Copper coins are notoriously difficult to preserve perfectly because they react to air and moisture over time, developing toning or spotting that reduces grade, and when a grading service such as PCGS or NGC certifies a coin as mint state 67 red or higher with blazing original luster and virtually no imperfections, that coin enters an elite category where registry set collectors compete fiercely to own the finest known specimen. Registry competition has pushed modern coins into record-breaking territory before, and if a 1963 cent were the single highest graded example with extraordinary eye appeal and perhaps a rare error attached, the combination could produce an auction result that shocks the entire numismatic world. Another fascinating angle involves die breaks and cuds, which occur when a portion of the die cracks or breaks away, creating raised blobs or dramatic shapes on the struck coin. Some collectors actively seek large, eye-catching cuds because they are visually dramatic and clearly represent mint failure, and while many cuds at moderate premiums, an unusually large and perfectly positioned cud on a 1963 cent in pristine condition could become famous if publicized correctly. Fame in the coin world often translates into value because collectors desire coins that tell compelling stories, and a coin with a dramatic die break discovered decades after minting would generate headlines, further fueling demand. Lamination errors are another possibility, caused by impurities or structural weaknesses in the metal strip used to create planchets, resulting in peeling or splitting surfaces that look almost like layers lifting from the coin. When severe and combined with high-grade preservation, such errors become highly collectible. Broad strikes and collar errors also add intrigue. Broad strikes occur when a coin is struck without the restraining collar that normally shapes the edge, allowing the metal to expand outward, producing a larger than normal appearance with distorted rims. If a 1963 penny were discovered as a dramatic broad strike in flawless red condition, its uniqueness would amplify its appeal, and uniqueness is the cornerstone of extreme valuation. Now we must consider the power of a mule error, one of the rarest and most dramatic types of mint mistakes. A mule occurs when two dies that were never intended to be paired are accidentally used together. For example, pairing a Lincoln cent obverse with a completely different reverse design. While no widely confirmed 1963 mule cent has dominated headlines, the possibility alone fuels speculation because modern mules have sold for hundreds of thousands and even millions of dollars. And if a genuine 1963 mule were discovered and authenticated as unique, it could become one of the most important modern U.S. coin errors ever found, potentially commanding astronomical sums, especially if wealthy investors view it as a once-in-a-lifetime acquisition. Transitional errors also create excitement. Although 1963 did not mark a major composition change like 1982, transitional planchet anomalies can still occur when leftover blanks from previous years or experimental compositions are mistakenly used. Imagine a 1963 cent struck on an experimental alloy or an incorrect metal stock intended for testing. Such a discovery would electrify the numismatic community because experimental pieces are incredibly rare and often shrouded in secrecy. If only one were known and its authenticity verified beyond doubt, it could easily become the centerpiece of a major auction, attracting global attention and pushing bidding into the stratosphere. Media influence plays a powerful role in driving record prices. When a coin is featured in major news outlets with headlines suggesting it could be worth millions, public curiosity surges, collectors re-examine their holdings, and investors enter the market seeking alternative tangible assets. Rare coins have increasingly been viewed as portable stores of wealth similar to fine art, and when two determined buyers with deep pockets decide they must own the same trophy coin, the final price can defy logic. History has already proven this with coins like the 1933 Double Eagle and rare silver dollars that sold for tens of millions. So the idea of a 1963 penny reaching $44 million, while extraordinary, becomes conceivable under the right combination of rarity, uniqueness, condition, and competitive bidding. Authentication is critical in such scenarios because the coin market has seen its share of altered dates, added mint marks, and counterfeit errors. Advanced technology including high-resolution microscopy and X-ray fluorescence metal analysis is used by top grading services to confirm a coin's legitimacy, and once a coin is encapsulated and certified with a detailed description of its rare error or unique status, confidence among buyers increases dramatically. Confidence is what transforms rumor into record-setting reality. Historical context also enhances desirability because 1963 represents a poignant moment in American history. Coins from that year were circulating in pockets during one of the most emotionally charged periods in the nation's past. And collectors often place intangible value on objects that connect them to significant events. Owning a 1963 penny with a spectacular error is not just about metal and minting, it is about holding a tangible artifact from a year that shaped the future of the United States. The psychology of treasure hunting further fuels high valuations because billions of pennies were minted, meaning the possibility of undiscovered rarities still exists. This accessibility keeps hope alive among collectors. And hope sustains demand. The dream that an overlooked penny in a jar could be worth millions captures imagination across generations, and that narrative spreads rapidly online, increasing awareness and potentially increasing the number of wealthy bidders interested in securing the most famous known specimen. Another factor that could push a 1963 cent toward a $44 million valuation is provenance. If a coin can be traced to a famous collection or linked to a historical figure, its story becomes even more compelling. Provenance adds authenticity, romance, and prestige, all of which influence high-end buyers. When rarity, condition, dramatic error, historical timing, authentication certainty, registry competition, investor interest, media amplification, and compelling provenance converge in a single coin, the result can be explosive. So while the average 1963 penny in circulation is worth only a few cents above face value, the rare exceptions with extraordinary characteristics hold the potential to shatter expectations. The key for collectors is careful examination, using magnification to inspect lettering and date for doubling, weighing the coin to confirm correct composition, checking for off-center strikes, unusual thickness, incorrect metal coloration, die cracks, cuds, laminations, or any visual anomaly that separates the coin from the ordinary, because the difference between a 1-cent coin and a multimillion-dollar treasure can be a subtle detail invisible to the untrained eye. And that is what makes this hobby so thrilling. The 1963 1-cent coin reminds us that value is not always obvious, that sometimes history, error, and preservation combine to create legends, and legends attract wealth. So before you dismiss that old copper penny from 1963, take a closer look. Because hidden among the billions could be a once-in-a-lifetime discovery capable of rewriting financial destiny and proving once again that in the world of rare coins even the smallest denomination can carry the biggest surprise. Next, 1977 D1-cent USA coin. Today we are uncovering another astonishing story from the world of rare coins, a story that proves once again that even the smallest and most ordinary-looking piece of pocket change can hide unimaginable value. Because today we are talking about the 1977 D1-cent USA coin. A humble Lincoln penny struck at the Denver Mint that under extraordinary circumstances, rare mint errors, elite condition grades, and historical significance has been valued in sensational headlines at as much as $41 million. And before you dismiss that number as impossible, think about this. The rare coin market has already produced coins that sold for tens of millions, coins that once circulated in everyday commerce, coins that people once carried in their pockets without realizing they were holding treasures. So the real question is not whether a penny can be worth millions. History has proven it can. The real question is what makes a specific 1977 penny so incredibly valuable, and what errors, mistakes, and unique characteristics could transform a single cent into a fortune larger than most lottery jackpots. Now let us step back into 1977. The United States was moving through a decade of economic change, inflation concerns, energy crises, and shifting global politics. Yet through it all, the U.S. Mint continued producing billions of Lincoln cents to meet the demands of commerce. The 1977 penny features the classic portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, designed by Victor David Brenner, and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, composed of 95% copper and 5% zinc, weighing approximately 3.11 grams, and in Denver alone hundreds of millions of 1977 cents were struck, which on the surface suggests commonality rather than rarity. But as experienced collectors know, true rarity is often hidden within mass production. Because when dies wear out, when machines malfunction, when planchets are improperly fed, when alignment shifts by fractions of a millimeter, extraordinary mint errors can occur, and sometimes those mistakes escape into circulation unnoticed for decades. One of the most powerful value drivers for a 1977 cent is the possibility of a dramatic double die error. Double dies occur during the hubbing process when the die receives multiple impressions that are slightly misaligned, creating visible doubling in the design elements. And while minor machine doubling is common and not particularly valuable, a true hub double die shows clear separation in the numbers of the date, the word liberty, and the motto "I in God we trust." If a 1977 penny were discovered with bold, unmistakable doubled features confirmed by leading grading services as a genuine double die variety, especially one previously unknown to the numismatic community, its value could skyrocket instantly. Because new discoveries generate excitement, and excitement drives bidding wars, particularly if the coin is preserved in high mint state red condition with blazing original luster and minimal contact marks. Another powerful factor involves off-metal or wrong planchet errors, which happen when a coin is struck on a blank intended for a different denomination or even a foreign coin. Imagine a 1977 Lincoln cent struck on a dime planchet, instantly smaller and lighter than normal, or struck on a bronze planchet of experimental composition. Such errors are incredibly rare and often one of a kind, and uniqueness is the ultimate fuel for multi-million-dollar valuations. Because when only one confirmed specimen exists, wealthy collectors who desire exclusivity may compete fiercely, driving the final auction price to astonishing levels. The Denver Mint in the 1970s was producing coins at immense speed, and while quality control was generally strong, occasional transitional or misfeed errors could slip through. Broad strike errors are another possibility, occurring when the collar that normally shapes the coin's edge fails to contain the metal during striking, allowing the coin to expand outward beyond normal dimensions, creating a dramatic and visually striking appearance. If such a broad strike were perfectly centered with sharp details and preserved in flawless red condition, it could become a headline-making specimen. Clipped planchet errors also add significant appeal. When a blank is improperly punched from the metal strip, leaving a curved or straight clip missing from the edge, and when combined with a high grade and dramatic visual impact, such an error becomes highly collectible. But to approach a valuation like $41 million, the coin would likely need to combine multiple extraordinary factors, perhaps a previously unknown double die combined with an off-metal strike in pristine condition, something so unusual that experts confirm it as unique in all of numismatic history. Another intriguing possibility is a mule error, one of the rarest types of mint mistakes, where two dies not intended to be paired are accidentally used together. While no widely publicized 1977 cent mule has dominated mainstream auctions, the discovery of such a coin would electrify the collecting community. Because mule errors represent dramatic breakdowns in mint procedure, and modern mule coins have sold for hundreds of thousands and even millions. So a 1977 D mule in exceptional preservation could conceivably reach astronomical levels if it became famous enough. Die breaks and cuds are additional areas of fascination. When part of the die cracks or breaks away, it creates raised blobs or irregular shapes on the struck coin. Large and visually dramatic cuds are especially desirable to error collectors, and while most sell for hundreds or thousands, a spectacular cud on a coin already rare for another reason could push value dramatically higher. Lamination errors, where the metal splits or peels due to impurities in the alloy strip, create unique textures that make each coin one of a kind, and one-of-a-kind items often command the strongest premiums. Condition, however, cannot be overstated in its importance. Copper coins are notoriously sensitive to environmental damage. Fingerprints, carbon spots, and toning can reduce grade significantly. So a 1977 D penny graded MS68 red or higher by a top-tier grading service would already be among the finest known examples. Registry set collectors compete aggressively for the highest graded coins to secure top rankings, and registry competition has historically driven prices into record-breaking territory. When two elite collectors compete for the single finest known specimen, logic sometimes leaves the room and pride takes over, and pride can be very expensive. Provenance can further multiply value. If a particular 1977 D-era penny were traced back to a famous collection or discovered in a dramatic story involving a bank vault, estate sale, or generational inheritance, its narrative would capture media attention, and media attention fuels investor interest. Rare coins have increasingly become alternative assets for wealthy individuals seeking diversification beyond stocks and real estate. And when a coin achieves celebrity status, its value may climb beyond traditional numismatic expectations. Another layer of possibility involves transitional planchet errors tied to experimental compositions. Although 1977 did not officially mark a composition change like 1982, the Mint periodically tested metals and alloys, and the accidental release of a test strike could create an ultra-rare variety. Authentication would require advanced metallurgical analysis such as X-ray fluorescence testing to confirm composition, and once certified as genuine, the coin would instantly become a centerpiece of modern U.S.-era collecting. Historical context also enhances desirability because coins from the 1970s represent a turbulent economic era marked by inflation, and copper itself was rising in intrinsic value, making high-grade copper cents increasingly appreciated over time. Symbolism plays a subtle yet powerful role in valuation. Owning a rare 1977 D penny connects the collector to an era of American resilience and transformation, and collectors often place intangible value on objects that bridge past and present. Psychology drives markets as much as rarity does. The dream of finding a multi-million-dollar coin in everyday change fuels continuous searching. Millions of people still examine pennies hoping to spot a rare variety, and each new discovery reinforces the belief that hidden treasures remain undiscovered. This collective anticipation sustains high valuations for legendary specimens. The concept of a $41 million penny may sound extraordinary, but when we analyze the mechanics of elite auctions, it becomes conceivable. If a unique 1977 D cent combining a major double die, wrong planchet strike, pristine MS68 or MS69 red grade, and compelling provenance were offered at a high-profile auction house with global marketing exposure, billionaires and elite collectors could view it not just as a coin but as a trophy, a conversation piece, a symbol of exclusivity, and trophies command premiums far beyond intrinsic material value. We have already seen coins surpass $10 million, $15 million, even $20 million in public sales, so the leap toward $41 million under extraordinary circumstances is within the realm of possibility, especially in a market where wealth concentration allows a small number of bidders to dramatically influence outcomes. Authentication remains essential because counterfeits and altered coins exist. Some individuals attempt to add mint marks or manipulate surfaces to simulate rare varieties. So any coin claiming extreme value must be examined under magnification, weighed precisely to confirm the standard 3.11 gram copper composition, evaluated for correct diameter and thickness, and analyzed for genuine die characteristics consistent with mint production. Only when a respected grading service encapsulates and documents the error does confidence solidify, and confidence is the foundation of multimillion-dollar transactions. So what should collectors look for in their own 1977 pennies? First, examine the date and lettering under magnification for signs of true hub doubling rather than flat machine doubling. Second, check the mint mark for repunching or unusual placement. Third, weigh the coin to confirm correct composition and rule out wrong planchet anomalies. Fourth, inspect the surfaces for die cracks, cuds, laminations, or off-center strikes. And finally, evaluate condition, because even minor wear can dramatically reduce potential value. While the overwhelming majority of 1977 pennies remain worth only a few cents above face value, the rare exceptions with extraordinary combinations of error, condition, uniqueness, and historical intrigue carry the potential to astonish the world. The story of a $41 million 1977 cent reminds us that value is often hidden in plain sight, that mass production can conceal microscopic miracles, and that sometimes the difference between ordinary and legendary is a tiny imperfection born in a split second inside a roaring mint press nearly half a century ago. So before you overlook that old copper penny from 1977, take a closer look, because within that small disc of metal could lie a story powerful enough to transform a single cent into a fortune beyond imagination, proving once again that in the fascinating world of coin collecting even the smallest denomination can hold the biggest surprise. Next, 1974 1 cent USA coin. Today we are uncovering one of the most electrifying and controversial stories in modern coin collecting history, a story that centers on a simple-looking Lincoln penny that most people would overlook without a second thought. Yet under the right circumstances, the 1974 1 cent USA coin has been connected to valuations as high as $43 million because of extraordinary mint errors, rare experimental compositions, unique die varieties, pristine preservation, and the kind of mystery that turns an ordinary copper cent into a legendary treasure. And if you have ever wondered whether a small coin hiding in a jar, drawer, or inherited collection could secretly be worth more than a luxury mansion or a private island, then stay with me, because the 1974 penny carries one of the most fascinating combinations of history, controversy, and possibility ever seen in American numismatics. Now, to understand why this coin holds such powerful potential, we must travel back to the early 1970s, a time when the United States was facing serious economic pressure. Inflation was rising, metal prices were climbing, and the intrinsic value of copper was becoming dangerously close to the face value of the cent itself. The U.S. Mint began exploring alternatives to the traditional 95% copper composition used for Lincoln cents. And during this experimental period, test strikes and alternative metal planchets were reportedly produced as the government searched for cheaper materials. While most official experimental pieces were never intended for circulation, history has shown that in rare instances experimental coins or transitional errors have escaped the mint and entered private hands, creating some of the most valuable coins ever known. And this is where the legend of the 1974 penny begins to intensify. Because among collectors and experts, the possibility of a 1974 cent struck in an experimental metal such as aluminum has generated enormous excitement. Although the majority of 1974 cents were struck in the standard copper alloy at both Philadelphia and Denver, the Mint is known to have struck aluminum cents dated 1974 as part of composition testing. Most of those aluminum cents were reportedly destroyed or retained by the government. But rumors and debates persist about whether a small number might have survived outside official channels, and if a genuine 1974 aluminum cent were ever authenticated and legally approved for private ownership, it would instantly become one of the most important and controversial coins in U.S. history, because rarity combined with government mystery creates an aura that drives valuations into the stratosphere. Now imagine such a coin surfacing at a major auction, confirmed by metallurgical analysis as aluminum rather than copper, bearing the D Mint mark of Denver. In pristine condition with sharp details and no corrosion, such a coin would not simply be rare, it could be unique. And uniqueness is the ultimate driver of multimillion-dollar value. When collectors believe there is only one available specimen, the bidding becomes less about price and more about legacy. Ownership becomes symbolic, and symbols command extraordinary premiums. Beyond the experimental aluminum story, the 1974 D penny also holds potential for dramatic double die errors, which occur during the die creation process when the hub impresses the design multiple times at slightly different angles, producing visible doubling in the date, the word liberty, and the motto "I in God We Trust." A strong double die variety that escaped widespread recognition for decades could suddenly capture attention if discovered in high grade, especially if the doubling is bold and unmistakable to the naked eye. And when such a discovery is paired with exceptional mint state red preservation graded by top-tier services like PCGS or NGC at levels such as MS67 or MS68 red, registry collectors compete aggressively to secure the finest known example, and registry competition has historically pushed coin prices far beyond traditional estimates, because for elite collectors ranking at the top of the registry becomes a matter of prestige, and prestige often overrides budget. Another powerful value driver involves wrong planchet strikes. Errors that occur when a cent design is struck on a blank intended for a different denomination or foreign coin. Imagine a 1974 D cent struck on a dime planchet, thinner and smaller than normal, or struck on a brass or experimental alloyed blank. Such errors are extraordinarily rare and often one of a kind, and one of a kind coins become trophies in high-end auctions, trophies that wealthy investors view as tangible works of art with historical significance. Broad strike errors are another possibility, occurring when the collar that normally contains the coin during striking fails, allowing the metal to expand beyond standard diameter, creating a dramatic, oversized appearance with distorted rims. While broad strikes alone may not reach multimillion-dollar territory, a broad strike combined with a major double die or experimental composition could elevate a coin into legendary status. Die breaks and cuts also add intrigue. When part of the die cracks or breaks away, it creates raised blobs or unusual shapes on the coin's surface. Dramatic cuts are visually striking and highly collectible, especially when large and positioned near key design elements such as the date or mint mark. Lamination errors, caused by impurities or weaknesses in the metal strip, create peeling or splitting surfaces that make each coin unique. Uniqueness once again amplifies desirability, and desirability fuels competitive bidding. The historical context of 1974 adds further depth to the story because this was a year when the United States was grappling with political upheaval, including the Watergate scandal and the resignation of President Richard Nixon. Coins struck during such turbulent times become silent witnesses to history, and collectors often place intangible value on artifacts connected to pivotal national events. Holding a rare 1974 D penny with extraordinary characteristics is like holding a piece of that era frozen in copper or aluminum. The psychological power of that connection cannot be underestimated in high-end markets. Provenance can multiply value even further. If a specific 1974 D-era penny were traced back to a famous collection, a former mint employee, or a dramatic discovery story involving decades of secrecy, its narrative would captivate the media, and media coverage can transform a rare coin into a cultural phenomenon. When headlines proclaim that a penny could be worth $43 million, millions of people begin checking their change, and heightened awareness increases market energy. Investors who previously ignored coins may enter the scene viewing them as alternative assets similar to fine art or rare watches, and when two or more ultra-wealthy bidders decide they must own the same unique coin, the final hammer price can exceed even the most optimistic predictions. We have already seen coins such as the 1933 Double Eagle surpass $18 million in public sales, and private transactions may have reached even higher figures. So the concept of a $43 million 1974 D penny, while extraordinary, becomes conceivable if the coin represents a unique experimental survivor combined with pristine preservation and legal clarity regarding ownership. Authentication would be absolutely critical in such a scenario. Advanced metallurgical testing, including X-ray fluorescence analysis, would confirm composition. Microscopic examination would verify genuine die characteristics, and historical research would be conducted to trace its origin. Once encapsulated and certified by a leading grading service with full documentation, the coin would gain credibility, and credibility is the foundation upon which multimillion-dollar transactions are built. condition remains another crucial factor because copper coins are prone to toning, spotting, and surface damage over time. So a 1974 D cent preserved in blazing original red with no carbon spots, sharp strike details, and minimal contact marks would already command a premium even without errors. Combine that condition with a rare die variety or experimental metal and the valuation multiplies exponentially. Registry set collectors constantly seek the highest graded examples to dominate rankings, and if a single coin stands alone at the top population level, it becomes a target for intense competition. The dream of discovering such a coin keeps collectors searching bank rolls, estate sales, and inherited collections to this day. Billions of Lincoln cents were produced. And the possibility, however small, that a rare experimental or error coin remains undiscovered fuels the excitement that sustains the hobby. The 1974 D penny teaches us that value is not always visible at first glance. That sometimes a microscopic detail, or an unusual weight difference can separate the ordinary from the extraordinary. So what should collectors look for? First, weigh the coin carefully because a standard copper cent weighs about 3.11 grams while an aluminum cent would weigh significantly less. Second, examine the date and lettering for signs of true hub doubling rather than flat machine doubling. Third, inspect the mint mark placement and shape for anomalies. Fourth, look for unusual color or texture that might indicate off-metal striking. And fifth, consider professional grading for any coin that appears significantly different from normal examples. Because while the vast majority of 1974 D pennies are worth only a few cents, the rare exceptions with extraordinary characteristics hold the power to rewrite financial destinies. The story of a $43 million 1974 D 1-cent coin is ultimately a story about rarity, history, error, preservation, and human fascination with hidden treasure. It reminds us that even in an age of digital currency and electronic transactions, tangible pieces of metal from decades past can still ignite imaginations and spark bidding wars that capture global attention. So before you overlook that small copper coin dated 1974 with a tiny D beneath the year, take a closer look. Because within that modest piece of metal could lie a combination of history and mistake powerful enough to transform a single cent into one of the most valuable coins the world has ever seen, proving once again that in the extraordinary world of numismatics, even the smallest denomination can carry the greatest surprise. Next, 1981 1-cent USA coin. Today we are diving into another unbelievable treasure story from the world of rare coins, a story that proves once again that even the smallest and most ordinary-looking piece of pocket change can hide a fortune beyond imagination. Because today we are talking about the 1981 1-cent USA coin, a simple Lincoln penny that under extraordinary circumstances, rare mint errors, transitional varieties, and elite high-grade preservation has been associated with staggering valuations reaching as high as $36 million. And before you think that sounds impossible, remember that the rare coin market has already produced pennies and gold coins that sold for tens of millions. So when the right combination of rarity, mystery, historical timing, and collector demand comes together, even a single copper cent can become one of the most valuable objects in the world. Now, to understand how a 1981 penny could ever approach such a massive figure, we need to look at the historical context of the early 1980s. Because 1981 was a pivotal year, standing right on the edge of a major transformation in U.S. coinage. At that time, Lincoln cents were still being struck in the traditional bronze composition of 95% copper and 5% zinc, weighing approximately 3.11 grams. But copper prices were rising dramatically, and the U.S. Mint was already deep in research and planning that would eventually lead to the famous 1982 transition from copper to zinc planchets. Meaning that 1981 sits directly before one of the most chaotic and error-filled years in modern mint history. And whenever a transition approaches, mistakes become more likely. Experimental strikes may occur, leftover planchets can be mixed, dies may be tested, and small anomalies can slip into circulation unnoticed. Making 1981 a fascinating year for collectors who understand how transitional pressure can create hidden rarities. One of the most powerful factors that could drive a 1981 cent into the tens of millions is the possibility of a previously unknown transitional error. Imagine a 1981 penny accidentally struck on an early experimental zinc planchet intended for 1982 testing. Such a coin would represent a bridge between compositions, essentially a prototype error that should never have entered circulation. And if authenticated as genuine and unique, its value would skyrocket instantly, because transitional errors capture the imagination of collectors in a way few other mistakes can. They represent a moment of change frozen in metal, a physical reminder of the mint's struggle to adapt to economic pressures, and that symbolism adds depth to rarity. Another extraordinary possibility lies in wrong planchet strikes, which occur when a cent design is struck on a blank intended for another denomination or even a foreign coin. During high-speed production environments, planchets sometimes become mixed between presses, and a 1981 Lincoln cent struck on a dime planchet, quarter planchet, or experimental alloy blank would immediately stand out due to size, weight, or color differences. Such errors are often unique or nearly unique, and uniqueness is the ultimate driver of multimillion-dollar valuations, because when only one confirmed example exists, wealthy collectors may compete fiercely to secure it, transforming an ordinary cent into a trophy coin that symbolizes exclusivity and prestige. Double die errors also play a massive role in value creation. True, double dies occur during the die creation process when the hub impresses the design multiple times at slightly different angles, resulting in clear and distinct doubling in the date, the word liberty, and the motto "I in God we trust." While minor machine doubling is common and not especially valuable, a bold and dramatic double die that is easily visible without magnification can create enormous demand, especially if discovered decades after minting and certified as a new variety, and if that double die example is preserved in flawless mint state, red condition, graded MS67, MS68, or even higher by a respected grading service. Registry set collectors will aggressively pursue it. Registry competition has historically pushed coin prices to astonishing levels because collectors seeking to rank number one are willing to pay extraordinary premiums for the finest known specimen. And if a single 1981 double die cent stood alone at the top of the population report, it could become the focus of intense bidding wars. Another possibility involves a mule error, one of the rarest and most dramatic mint mistakes where two dies not intended to be paired are accidentally used together. Imagine a 1981 Lincoln cent obverse paired with a different reverse design, perhaps from another denomination, while no widely publicized 1981 mule has surfaced. The discovery of such a coin would instantly electrify the numismatic world, because mule errors are exceptionally rare and often one of a kind. And a unique mule in pristine condition could easily enter the multimillion-dollar conversation. Die breaks and cuds add further intrigue. When a portion of the die cracks or breaks away, it leaves raised blobs or dramatic shapes on the struck coin. Large cuds near the date or mint mark can be visually striking and highly collectible. Lamination errors caused by impurities in the metal strip can create peeling or splitting surfaces that make each coin unique. Broad strikes occur when the collar fails to contain the metal during striking, allowing the coin to expand outward beyond normal diameter. Clipped planchets happen when blanks are improperly punched from the metal strip, leaving curved or straight missing sections. Each of these errors alone might not reach tens of millions, but when combined with extreme rarity, perfect preservation, and strong media attention, they can contribute to legendary status. Historical timing enhances the story because 1981 represents the final full year before the dramatic 1982 composition shift, making it symbolically the end of the traditional bronze cent era. Collectors love coins that mark turning points in history, and when such a coin carries a spectacular error, it becomes even more desirable. Imagine owning the last of the classic copper cents combined with a production anomaly that defied mint expectations. That narrative alone can fuel headlines and investor interest. Media influence cannot be underestimated in driving record prices. When a coin is publicized as potentially worth $36 million, millions of people begin examining their spare change. Awareness spreads rapidly online, and new collectors enter the hobby hoping to strike gold in copper form. Increased attention increases demand for the most famous known specimen, and demand among wealthy buyers can push prices beyond logical boundaries. We have already witnessed coins such as the 1933 Double Eagle and rare silver dollars achieve staggering auction results, exceeding $10 or even $20 million. So under extraordinary circumstances a unique 1981 error cent could approach $36 million if two determined bidders view it as an irreplaceable trophy asset. Provenance adds another multiplier effect. If a specific 1981 cent were discovered in a dramatic estate sale, inherited from a former mint employee, or hidden in a bank vault for decades before resurfacing, its story would captivate the public imagination. Compelling stories create emotional connections, and emotional connections drive higher bids. Authentication would be absolutely essential in any multimillion-dollar scenario. Advanced metallurgical testing such as X-ray fluorescence would confirm composition. Microscopic examination would verify genuine dye markers consistent with mint production. Weight would be measured precisely to confirm whether the coin matches standard bronze specifications of 3.11 grams or deviates due to wrong planchet striking. Once certified and encapsulated by a top-tier grading service, the coin gains credibility, and credibility is the foundation of high-value transactions. Condition remains one of the most critical factors because copper coins are highly sensitive to environmental damage. Fingerprints, carbon spotting, and oxidation can reduce grade dramatically. So a 1981 cent preserved in blazing original red with full luster and virtually no contact marks would already command strong premiums. Combine that with a unique error or transitional anomaly and the valuation multiplies exponentially. The psychology of treasure hunting also sustains high valuations. Billions of pennies were produced and many remain in circulation, meaning the possibility of undiscovered rarities still exists. That possibility fuels hope, and hope fuels constant searching. Collectors continue to check bank rolls and coin jars because the dream of discovering a multimillion-dollar penny is irresistible. The 1981 1-cent coin teaches us that value often hides in microscopic details, that sometimes a subtle shift in weight, a faint doubling in lettering, or an unusual metal composition can separate a common coin from a legendary one. So what should you look for in your own 1981 pennies? First, weigh the coin carefully to confirm standard bronze weight. Second, examine the date and inscriptions under magnification for true hub doubling. Third, inspect the surfaces for off-center strikes, clipped edges, lamination splits, die cracks, or cuds. Fourth, pay attention to color and texture that might indicate off-metal striking. And finally, consider professional grading if the coin appears exceptional in condition or unusual in appearance. Because while the vast majority of 1981 pennies are worth only a few cents above face value, the rare exceptions with extraordinary characteristics hold the potential to astonish the world. The story of a $36 million 1981 cent is ultimately a story about rarity, transition, error, preservation, competition, and human fascination. With hidden treasure, it reminds us that even in an era increasingly dominated by digital transactions, tangible pieces of copper can still ignite imaginations and command fortunes. So before you overlook that small penny dated 1981, take a closer look, because within that modest coin could lie a combination of history and mistake powerful enough to transform a single cent into a life-changing discovery. Proving once again that in the extraordinary world of coin collecting, even the smallest denomination can carry the greatest surprise. Next, 2009 Birthplace Cabin 1 cent USA coin. Today we are uncovering one of the most fascinating modern penny stories ever discussed, a story that proves even in the 21st century, even in an age of digital payments and online banking, a simple 1 cent coin can still shock the world with a valuation reaching as high as $33 million under the right circumstances. Because today we are talking about the 2009 Birthplace Cabin 1 cent USA coin, a coin that at first glance looks like just another modern Lincoln penny, yet hidden within its design, its historical significance, its limited mintage, and its potential mint errors lies the possibility of extraordinary value that has captured the imagination of collectors everywhere. And if you have ever ignored modern pennies thinking they could never be worth serious money, this story may completely change your perspective. Now, to understand why the 2009 Birthplace Cabin cent holds such powerful potential, we must step back into 2009, a landmark year in United States coinage history because it marked the 200th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth and the 100th anniversary of the Lincoln Cent series itself. To celebrate this historic double milestone, the U.S. Mint released 4 different reverse designs throughout the year, each representing a different stage of Lincoln's life. And the very first design released was the Birthplace Cabin reverse, depicting the simple log cabin in Kentucky where Abraham Lincoln was born in 1809. This design symbolized humble beginnings, resilience, and the foundation of one of America's most revered leaders, and unlike the long-running Lincoln Memorial reverse that had been used since 1959, the 2009 designs were temporary and unique to that year, instantly making them special in the eyes of collectors. The Denver Mint struck millions of these coins with the D Mint mark. Yet compared to earlier decades, the total mintage numbers were significantly lower due to reduced demand for cents during the economic recession of 2008 and 2009. Lower mintages combined with a one-year-only commemorative design already create a strong foundation for long-term collectability. But to reach a staggering valuation like $33 million requires something far beyond standard production numbers. It requires rarity layered upon rarity, error layered upon uniqueness, and condition elevated to perfection. One of the most powerful drivers of extreme value in modern coins is the presence of a major mint error, and the 2009 Birthplace Cabin cent offers several fascinating possibilities. One of the most dramatic would be a double die error on either the obverse or reverse. True double dies occur during the die creation process when the hub imprints the design multiple times at slightly different angles, creating clear and distinct doubling in elements such as the date, the word liberty, the motto "I in God we trust," or even in the fine details of the log cabin itself. Imagine a 2009 Birthplace Cabin penny where the cabin logs show strong separation lines, the windows appear doubled, and the inscriptions display bold overlapping impressions visible without magnification. Such a discovery would immediately capture national attention, especially if it were previously unknown and confirmed as a new major variety by leading grading services. And if that coin were preserved in flawless mint state 69 red, or even a perfect mint state 70 red condition, its value could rise dramatically because registry set collectors aggressively compete for the finest known examples of modern commemorative issues. Registry competition has pushed modern coins into 6- and 7-figure territory before, and when a coin stands alone at the very top of the population report, it becomes a trophy for elite collectors who demand perfection. Another extraordinary possibility lies in wrong planchet errors, which occur when a coin design is struck on a blank intended for a different denomination or composition. In 2009, the Mint was producing coins in both copper-plated zinc and other denominations such as dimes and quarters simultaneously. And while quality control is advanced in modern facilities, mistakes can still happen. Imagine a 2009 Birthplace Cabin cent struck on a dime planchet, significantly smaller and lighter than normal, or struck on a nickel planchet, creating a dramatically thicker appearance. Such wrong planchet errors are extremely rare and often unique, and uniqueness is the ultimate catalyst for multimillion-dollar valuations, because when only one confirmed specimen exists, wealthy collectors may compete intensely to secure ownership, turning a 1-cent coin into a historic artifact worth tens of millions. Another fascinating scenario involves transitional metal errors. While 2009 cents were generally struck on copper-plated zinc planchets weighing approximately 2.5 grams, any deviation from this standard weight or composition would immediately raise questions. If a 2009 Birthplace Cabin cent were discovered struck on an experimental alloy or a leftover bronze planchet from decades earlier, its metallurgical anomaly would make it one of the most important modern transitional errors ever found. Advanced testing such as X-ray fluorescence analysis would confirm its composition. And once certified by a major grading service, the coin would become the centerpiece of modern Lincoln cent collecting. Off-center strikes provide another layer of intrigue. When a coin is misaligned during striking, the design may be shifted dramatically, sometimes 30% or more off-center, and if the date and mint mark remain fully visible, the coin retains strong collectability. While most off-center errors bring moderate premiums, a dramatic off-center combined with a wrong planchet or double die could create a one-of-a-kind specimen. Broad strikes occur when the collar fails to contain the metal during striking, allowing the coin to expand beyond normal diameter. Clipped planchets result from improper blank cutting, leaving curved missing sections along the edge. Die cracks and cuts create raised lines or blobs where the die has fractured, and lamination errors cause peeling or splitting surfaces due to metal impurities. Each of these errors alone adds value. But when combined with elite grade preservation and historical significance, the cumulative effect can be explosive. Historical symbolism adds emotional power to the 2009 Birthplace Cabin scent because it represents the beginning of Lincoln's life journey. Collectors often feel a deeper connection to coins that tell a story, and this design tells a story of humble origins leading to greatness. That narrative resonates strongly in American culture, and when paired with a spectacular mint error, it transforms the coin from simple currency into a symbolic artifact. Media attention plays a critical role in driving extreme valuations. When headlines announce that a modern penny could be worth $33 million, millions of people begin searching through their change. Social media spreads the story rapidly, and new collectors enter the hobby hoping to discover hidden treasures. Increased awareness increases demand for the most famous known specimen, and when two determined buyers with deep pockets decide they must own the same coin, the final auction price can surpass expectations. We have already seen modern coins such as rare state quarters and error dollars sell for remarkable amounts, and older coins like the 1933 Double Eagle have shattered records exceeding $18 million. So while $33 million sounds extraordinary, under the right circumstances involving uniqueness, perfect condition, and intense competition, it becomes conceivable. Provenance further multiplies value. If a particular 2009 Birthplace Cabin era coin were discovered in an unopened mint roll stored in a bank vault since 2009, or inherited from a former mint employee, or found in a dramatic estate sale, its story would captivate the public imagination. Compelling stories drive emotional bidding, and emotional bidding drives higher prices. Authentication is absolutely critical because the modern coin market has seen counterfeits and altered pieces. Advanced microscopic analysis ensures that doubling is true hub doubling rather than machine doubling. Weight verification confirms correct or incorrect planchet composition, and encapsulation by PCGS or NGC establishes credibility. Credibility transforms rumor into record-setting reality. Condition cannot be overstated in its importance. Modern coins are often saved in large quantities, but very few achieve flawless surfaces free of microscopic abrasions even when freshly struck. So a perfect MS-70 red example with a dramatic unique error would be extraordinarily rare. Registry collectors competing for the finest possible 2009 Lincoln Bicentennial set would view such a coin as the ultimate prize. The psychology of treasure hunting sustains the excitement. Billions of pennies circulate each year, and the thought that a multi-million-dollar rarity could be hiding in plain sight keeps collectors searching tirelessly. The 2009 Birthplace Cabin scent reminds us that even modern coins are not immune to error. That history and manufacturing complexity can intersect to create unexpected masterpieces. So what should you look for in your own 2009 Birthplace Cabin pennies? First, weigh the coin to confirm the standard 2.5-gram copper-plated zinc specification. Second, examine the inscriptions and cabin details for strong, clear doubling. Third, inspect the edges for clips or broad strike characteristics. Fourth, look for unusual thickness, color, or texture that might indicate wrong planchet striking. And finally, evaluate condition carefully because flawless surfaces dramatically increase potential value, while the overwhelming majority of 2009 Birthplace Cabin cents remain worth only a few cents above face value. The rare exceptions with extraordinary errors, unique compositions, and perfect preservation hold the power to shock the numismatic world. The story of a $33 million 2009 Birthplace Cabin 1-cent coin is ultimately a story about history, celebration, error, rarity, perfection, and human fascination with hidden treasure. It proves that even in the modern era, a tiny copper-coated disc can ignite imaginations and command fortunes. So before you dismiss that 2009 penny with the small log cabin on the reverse, take a closer look, because within that symbol of humble beginnings could lie a combination of uniqueness and history powerful enough to transform 1 cent into a life-changing discovery. reminding us once again that in the extraordinary world of coin collecting, even the newest coins can carry the greatest surprises.